You want huge delts, but you keep doing the same terrible exercises that a lot of other people are doing for delts that at the best case scenario just aren't ideal, and the worst case are just a damn waste of time. We're gonna show you what they are, make sure you're not doing them, and show you how to either modify them or use entirely different exercises that are way better so you can finally have freaky delts and get the tension you need. Let's go get big delts. The standing barbell shoulder press is an amazing shoulder exercise, especially for your front delts and even a little bit for your side delts. But it is often bastardized in a terrible way, with people doing a push press version of it, which requires leg drive, which is nothing inherently wrong with, it just makes you use more weight for the same exact shoulder stimulus. And people half rep it in that middle range, really just kind of peel it out of a power rack and do some moving around and call it their shoulder press PR. It's cool for vibes and lets you use a lot of weight, but there are way, way better ways to still do a standing shoulder press and get way more out of it for delt growth. Instead of doing all that wacky stuff using leg drive like crazy in a weird partial range of motion, conventional standing barbell shoulder presses are really intense, touching all the way down to your clavicles, keeping the bar very close to your face as you pull your chin back, and as soon as the bar crosses over your forehead, push your forehead and your entire body forward, lock the weight out up and behind you. That engages the side delts a little bit and allows you to lift the most weight in a very well-organized manner that minimizes injury risk, maximizes hypertrophy. After you've done your set of that, if you so choose, you can add a superset on top with a few push presses using leg drive to take your shoulders even further beyond failure than they typically would go. That combo right there is absolutely better than using a ton of weight with a real crap range of motion just so you can feel good about yourself temporarily. And trust me, take it from me, a person who's never felt good about themselves, it's overrated. But I've never felt good about myself, so how would I know? This is just sad at this point.
This isn't just a workout, it's warfare. The weights don't care how heavy they feel, and the moment you want to quit is the moment the real work begins.
The one arm at a time swinging front raise with dumbbells is a goated exercise for looking like you train. It's supposed to hit the shoulders, but it really only hits the front delt. And it doesn't hit the front delt in the stretch position a ton, it hits it in the most contracted position. Also, the swinging makes the reps and strength hard to track and encourages you to use other muscles of the body and thus enhance systemic fatigue for basically no reason. The cool thing is though, it's a really fun movement to do because you get to swing around a lot. You get to pretend you're your favorite 1990s pro bodybuilder and look in the mirror while your videographer pans around in grainy 1994 style video. This is not a movement that is remotely efficient and not the most effective movement to make your front delts bigger. There are movements that are similar, that are still front raises, that can make your front delts absolutely bigger and even hit your side delts as well. Instead of doing the one arm at a time swinging front dumbbell raise, what you can do is get on an incline bench and do dumbbells with essentially your pinkies pointed up as high as you can. You can still go out to the front. That largely hits your front delt a ton, but it puts a lot more emphasis on the stretch position, which grows more muscle. It's 2 arms at a time, so it saves you a bunch of time. And because you're pointing your pinkies up, it actually recruits your side delts a ton more. And remember, side delts are the parts of your delts that give you that bubbly look and make you look wider and shit. Front delts don't have that effect on your physique. So that exercise is superior to the swinging front one at a time dumbbell raise in almost every respect except one. It absolutely fails the vibe test of being hardcore pilled and 90s bodybuilder goated. Some things you're just gonna have to trade off for getting bigger delts. Okay, not the ideal shoulder move is a standing dumbbell internal and external rotation. Why is this bad? Because you see gravity only points up and down, not side to side, not front to back. So when you are doing internal and external shoulder rotations to warm up all those structures in the shoulders, that's a good thing, and that's totally fine to do, especially if you have a history of shoulder joint injury. But if you're doing it standing up, which like half the people at the gym seem to do, it literally applies nominal forces to the shoulder. Stop doing it. Here's what to do instead. Instead of standing for internal and external rotations, you can lie down on a bench, or you can do it with cables. In that case, you get all of the benefits of this awesome shoulder warm-up, but literally you get the benefits because the forces actually apply to where they're supposed to go, instead of you standing there and pretending to do internal external rotations against force, but really you're just holding a dumbbell that's only difficult to hold up and down and not in internal and external rotation directions that you want to apply the forces. So on a cable or lying down on a bench, this is totally good to go and absolutely my recommendation. Guys, for a lot of this shoulder training, what ends up happening is 3 mistakes are made. Maybe mistakes are a little bit of an exaggeration for some of these, but tendencies that make shoulder training not nearly as ideal. Let me talk about all 3 and how you can obviate them. The first mistake that's made is oftentimes cutting the range of motion substantially and cutting it away from the deep stretch, in which training is most productive for hypertrophy. So instead of doing mid-range of motion shoulder press stuff, try to think about getting as deep of a stretch as you can in every single movement, especially ones where the forces align, and then you're really, really good to go. That is a big fix that'll let you use less weight, save your joints, and make you even more jacked. Another problem is a lot of folks will use movements and use them in some ways that involve other muscles and other motions that don't really have much to do with the shoulder without really any enhancement. The 1 arm at a time front raise that we're doing, yeah, sure, it involves the shoulders plenty, or the front delts really, but what ends up happening is you end up swinging your body around just to use more weight. If you just sat down or stood stationary and did 2 arms at the same time, you would use less momentum, use less weight, accumulate less fatigue, and get all of the benefits just the same. A lot of times this happens in a shoulder press, which turns into a push press with leg drive. Nothing wrong with a dedicated planned push press, but if you call your push press the shoulder press instead and pretend that that's the same thing, you're going to be in for a lot of fatigue accumulation and using way bigger loads than you ever have to. I've never shot a big load in my life, but I've shot plenty of small ones. Right? The other mistake that people tend to make in many cases of shoulder training is to mistake front delt training for shoulder training. Remember, the side delts get a lot of work from almost nothing that you do for upper body, while the rear delts get a ton of work through every single back movement that you do, and the front delts get amazing work for every single chest movement that you do that requires pressing of any kind. Side delts also visually stick out to your sides. And I know that sounds crazy, but it really is true. And so if you want that nasty Jared Feather IFBB Pro or Max Strasny, the editor boy, the great IFBB Bro kind of side delt vibe, you're gonna want bigger side delts. That's what gives you width. The thing is, a lot of pressing, a lot of front raises are cool, they're fun, you can use a lot of weight, but it really doesn't hit your side delt nearly as much as varieties of lateral raises, be they with cables, be they with dumbbells, or whatever else implement you're using. The reality of shoulder training to get bigger shoulders, especially ones that give you that awesome look, is that you're gonna have to train your side delts a lot, and a lot of times that's not glorious training. And listen, it sucks, I know, but that's what gets you bigger shoulders. Give some thought to those sort of mistakes, stay away from making them. And I'll say one more, though this one is a bit more nuanced, a little bonus round. Try to pick movements that are very difficult at that bottom end stretch range of motion. You can potentially even try some exercises in which you cross the body with laterals, but you have to do them with cables. That doesn't mean lateral raises with dumbbells are a bad thing. But if you have a shoulder exercise like the dumbbell front raise, and you have an exercise alternatively that you can do that is the cross-body side delt lateral raise, especially from a pin that's hip height, man, the hip height pin, that's probably just going to be a better exercise in most cases. So if you have to choose the exercises that develop a ton of tension at the bottom, that actually target your side delts, that don't use unnecessary muscles and movements, and that make sure to get a nice deep stretch of big range of motion. If you stick to those, there's less glory, but more shoulder size. You really have to ask yourself the question, what's more important, glory or shoulder size? And that's a trick question, because once you get big enough shoulders, you're just glorious. So you win both. The behind the neck press is often bastardized beyond all recognition. And that's the bad way to do it that I want you to avoid. Going in the mid-range, barely coming down at all, using a ton of weight, it really just turns into a f***ery exercise in which you try to see how much you can behind the neck press, which just ends in either nothing, because not much happens to your muscles, or disaster when your shoulders just snap right off of your body. There are better ways to do the behind the neck press, and in a little preview of what we're going to talk about next, alternative exercises if you can't do that exercise effectively. If you're going to do the behind the neck press, try to come all the way down to touch the very bottom part of your neck. Pause for a second and then come all the way back up. This allows awesome hypertrophy from that deep stretch and is nice and safe because you're always in control of the movement all the time. If you do the behind the neck press more dynamically, you're probably going to be fine, but you could snap your shit up. If you're saying, look, Mike, I can't go that low, my shoulders hurt, it's super uncomfortable, no worries. Just switch to the seated barbell shoulder press to the front and touch all the way down to your clavicles. And if you can't, adjust your grip in and out to find whatever position is comfortable for you. That is going to get you all those awesome benefits of shoulder pressing, but without pretty much any of the downsides. Oh, hey guys, sorry, I was just leaning on fentanyl. The incline dumbbell shoulder press. The incline dumbbell shoulder press is a movement that is a combination of movements. That's why I'm calling it the incline dumbbell shoulder press. It's technically a dumbbell shoulder press or a dumbbell seated shoulder press. The problem with it is most people do it, and what ends up being a high incline. They take a nice big arch. Sometimes they're actually on the incline bench, not straight up and down. And what they'll do is they'll partial ROM that middle. That means you can shoulder press the 90s or the 110s, but the reality is that for the amount of fatigue you impose on your nervous system, on your joints, the amount of annoyance you have to have lugging those dumbbells up there, you don't get nearly as good of a stimulus as you may think. And so, yeah, it's a shoulder press, all right, but there are way more efficient and effective ways to do the dumbbell shoulder press that I'm going to show you in just a bit. Instead of doing all that nonsense, which is cool for vibes, what you can do is do a seated dumbbell shoulder press properly. That means super upright torso, no leaning back. You can still arch your upper back, but don't lean back all the way because it gets your upper chest involved. It will let you use more weight, but you don't want to do that. And then you're going to take the dumbbells and position them all the way to the outsides of your delts, trying to touch the bottom inner part of that dumbbell to the top part of your bicep, all the way below your front delt. That is going to be a massive, massive stretch and strain on your front delts, even hits the side delts just a little bit. And when you press up, don't press up and forward, press up and back, which recruits your side delts a bit more and gets you bigger traps. And there's a bad thing about getting traps that are too big. Just kidding. There's no problem ever with traps that are too big. In fact, too big of traps are not a thing. Try this exercise. It's going to work out much better for you. Yes, you can't lift as much weight, but you get bigger muscles, less joint pain. It's a huge win. The incline face down Y raise is a fine movement. Good range of motion, great for the freedom of motion of the shoulder joint. It's a unique angle. The problem is that that movement is maximally difficult at the top, where hypertrophy happens the least, and pretty much has no force applied to it at the bottom, where ideally you would apply the most force for the most growth. That's why it's not an ideal movement, and we have a kind of interesting replacement for it. Since we already used the incline Y raise for another exercise replacement, what we can do is essentially a barbell low incline front raise. This allows you to experience maximum tension at the bottom, still get a decent stretch, and come all the way up for that awesome full range of motion, but you get the much tougher experience at the bottom, much easier at the top. It's a barbell alternative. It's incredibly safe because if you bail, you just put the barbell on your thighs and you're good to go. All the benefits, none of the downsides. Folks, that's all I have for you for today. Huge thanks to the editing team and Max, the editor boy, for stepping in and doing some shoulder exercises. Remember, the benefit of having big side delts extends to having an awkward time sleeping, walking through doors, getting refitted for suit coats, and the glory of having massive side delts, which counterbalances all of those. Go into the world and have big shoulders. Tell them Dr. Mike sent you.